The Cold War was a war of threats and words. It started with the spread of communism. After World War II, the United States split up Germany into 4 parts. The USSR was one of the members of the United Nations, but instead of making their part of Germany free, they forced their sector to become communist. Churchill gave the name Iron Curtain to show the line between communism and capitalism in Europe. Russia blockaded Berlin to stop the East Germans from getting freedom. The spread of communism angered the US, and they would stop it at all costs. It became the Cold War. In Asia, the war started to heat up. In Korea, the country was split into 2 by the 38th parallel. Communist North Korea invaded Free South Korea. The Korean War was related to the Vietnam War because both sides were divided, and the North was communist. South Vietnam was intimidated by the fact that communism kept spreading. Eisenhower sent 675 military advisors to South Vietnam. Vietnam was governed by President Diem, and he asked John F. Kennedy for military advisors to stop communism. JFK sent more advisors, and there was more than 16,000 advisors in South Vietnam. President Johnson continued the war by sending troops, escalating the war, and he sent 33,000 troops. He started Operation Rolling Thunder, a bombing campaign in North Vietnam. Then in Viet Cong and North Vietnam launched the Tet Offensive. The Viet Cong were guerrilla warfare fighters and were against South Vietnam with help from North Vietnam. At the beginning of the war, Ho Chi Minh Trail, named after President of North Vietnam Ho Chi Minh, was built, a complex transportation system that went through North Vietnam and South Vietnam. It was used to get supplies to South Vietnam through other countries, Laos and Cambodia. It was used for North Vietnam soldiers to attack South Vietnam and was used by trucks and foot transportation to sneak into South Vietnam. Then in 1968, North Vietnamese and Viet Cong launched the Tet Offensive, a bombing campaign used to take out places where the South Vietnamese and Americans would most likely be. It was dropped over major cities that the American soldiers and their bases would most likely be. It was used as a surprise attack and escalated the war to a peak. During the fight of the Tet Offensive, the communists were taking their place in the war. They sent orders to kill anyone who was considered an enemy, teachers, doctors, and minor officers. During this time, the Americans asked their allies to go to special locations, and even those who obeyed were killed by communists and their bodies were found in Hue after a takeover. During this time, the U.S. soldiers were killing some innocent Vietnamese as well. More than 400 Vietnamese were killed during the My Lai massacre. The turning point of the war was the whole Tet Offensive itself. The Viet Cong had many casualties. The attack showed the strength of the Viet Cong and its strategies against its enemies. They claimed physiological victory because of the conquering of terrain. This soon was on all Americans' televisions, and Americans began to question whether America's focus on Vietnam was really our fight. U.S. troops survived the Tet Offensive because of William Westmoreland. He was a 4-star general who killed the U.S. Army during the Vietnam War. After the Tet Offensive, he asked for more troops for his army, knowing at this time the Viet Cong were vulnerable. He asked for 2 groups of Marines from President Johnson to protect the airspace. When Johnson sent troops, the army immediately started to expand. At the end of the war, President Lyndon Johnson replaced General Westmoreland with General Creighton Abrams, even though William Westmoreland claimed military victory due to his response,